Okay, fantastic. Well, today is Thursday, January the 19th, and we are Oh, you know what? My camera's not even on. Just noticed that. And we are continuing in the book of Introduction to Gnosis. And so, Reverend Sakina, you go ahead and take it away.
Okay. Well, let's just pause for a moment, become still, centering our thoughts, letting go of others that aren't necessary at this time, opening our heart and our mind to whatever the universe has in store for us today, this evening. And knowing that whatever we feel inspired to share, whatever we feel inspired to hold in our hearts, it's all good. For it's all in divine order as we grow ever more into the spiritual beings that we are. And on that note, we say, let it be so. And so it is.
And so it is.
Okay, as I said earlier, I thought it would be good to begin with sharing a little bit of this past week and how using we instead of I, and how letting go of criticism, criticizing others and ourselves too, and how using the needle on a thread, or as I like to call it, the pendulum exercise, what experiences we may have had from doing any of those three things. So I don't know if Harriet or Penelope, one of you want to begin?
Well, I can begin. It took me like 2 days to do the pendulum one. It took me like 2 days to do that. And I decided instead of hanging it from a ceiling, which would be awkward, I hung it to my lamp right here in the front. And I see that that type of focus is really it really helps you realize how much you are actually paying attention, how aware you are to your surroundings and what's going on with the needle, because I think it's because you can see it, so you can, I really like that kind of concentration, and I haven't done it past 10 minutes. And that's what they asked you to do for a day. Of course, nothing has happened. However, you know how when you hold a pendulum long enough, you will, it will, kind of, go around in a circle. If you're looking, for a yes, and that's your left, and you're looking for a no, and that's your right, you kind of pay attention to that. Now, I did notice those things happening, but I did say that, I'm sitting kind of right in front of it, so I could be breathing on it too. So, I'm taking all that into account. I'm doing this as a really good scientific experiment. I do notice that I criticize a lot. I criticize a lot more than I thought that I would. But once you look the word up, what does criticize mean? And it means to pick apart someone else's behavior, and wow, what gives you that right to pick apart someone else's behavior? And then I realized, now I'm picking apart my behavior. And one of the things that we had looked at last night is, how long do we stay in the how long do we stay in the conflict, you know? So I've been paying attention to that too. The thing with the we, I did it for, I think I really focused on it maybe for the first couple of days, but I guess it felt awkward. I found that it felt awkward to me. So, you know, because I'm doing the other two, I didn't really focus and prioritize that. But that was my experience. And but you know, I hope to, whatever our next lesson is, I hope to be able to incorporate this as much.
Okay, good, good. Harriet, did you want to share, or if not, that's okay. Okay.
Yeah, she's pretty quiet.
I'll be brief.
Okay.
With the we thing,
Mhm.
to me it was kind of freeing.
Mm.
Because when if I was reading something and I appeared, I changed it to we, or whatever the plural of that first person was. And like I said, to me, it was kind of freeing.
Okay.
It took me a while to decide where I was going to hang the needle. So it was just within the last couple of days. So I haven't really done anything with that. What was the other one? Was there something else that we were supposed to do?
Criticize.
Criticize.
What was?
Criticize.
Oh,
Mhm.
To let them criticize.
I've been cognizant of being critical for a while now. So for me, it just kind of gave me more ammunition to be more cognitive of, you know, when I do criticize, whether it's no matter what the situation is.
Mhm.
And I try to find something positive as opposed to being critical, or to put a yeah, I guess find something positive in the situation.
Okay. Okay. I have just one of the things that with the needle, or as I like to call it, the pendulum, you have to ask, because what is yes for one person may not be yes in the direction for another person, as far as the pendulum goes. So that was the one thing that I noticed and have found whenever I've used a pendulum to do certain things. You have to ask it to show you what yes is for your particular pendulum, and what you're doing, and what no is, and what not at this time, when you're using a pendulum to do certain things. For me, as for the needle exercise, as I said, I have read this book before and I had done it before. But the thing that I have noticed is that once you get to doing it and your mind is moving it, you can also adjust it with time. I have found that if I'm going someplace, and let's say I leave a little bit later, I find that I tell the universe to shorten the distance and lengthen the time. And I always get where I'm going on time, or a little bit before, even though I may have left late. I'm not exactly sure how that works, except that I've thrown it out to the universe, and the universe does that. With the criticizing, yeah, I've come to the position that you have to let people act and be the way they are, because everything is a learning experience and they have to learn certain things. Now, if they ask me to critique something that they're doing or whatever, yeah, then I go ahead and do it because they've asked. But if they haven't asked and I don't like what they're doing, you know, I don't say anything. And even with children, I don't, unless, let's say, for example, if I'm teaching a particular dance step and a student is, maybe they're supposed to brush their foot front and then back and then step. And let's say they're going back, front, and step. You know, I will correct them. I don't see it as being, you know, as criticizing them with what they're doing. I just feel that maybe they're not understanding what I've showed them. But I pretty much am at the stage where I just let it be. You know, if somebody, let's say they have a child and I'm in the store and their child is touching all kinds of stuff and they don't say anything, well, I don't either. I just let it go because eventually they will, you know, will learn. And I guess there's a part of me that feels, you know, I only need to criticize myself and what I'm doing and let the rest be. And so I still am critical of myself. I know I have a hard time, like if I'm combing my hair or like when I was going a little bit bald, I was very critical of how my hair looked. If it was windy outside, I noticed I used hairspray because I knew it was going to bother me if my hair blew and the bald spot showed. So I am very critical of myself, but I'm not real critical of other people. So that wasn't too hard to do. I am trying to learn not to criticize myself so much, but that's it. That's where I'm at in learning. So, okay. Are we ready to move on?
Yep. Hey, Andre, how are you?
Oh, hi, Andre.
Hello, everybody. I'm just
Hello.
listening. I'm just interested in listening.
Yeah,
Okay.
we were going over last week's lesson. So, you know, we were just kind of like discussing our homework for the week.
Okay, so we're going to begin here with lesson 3.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
The great lawyer, Jose M. Caceres, said the following: there is neither luck nor misfortune, success nor failure. Everything is a vibration of the ether. By learning the use of the tatwas, one can favorably solve all matters of life. You need a precise and exact system to obtain money, a scientific system that never fails. You need to take advantage of favorable circumstances to achieve the crystallization of all your projects, commercial, etc. Remember, tatwa is a vibration of the ether. In this age of radio, television, and teleguided missiles, it is absurd to deny the vibration of the ether. A great sage said, life was born from radiation, subsists because of radiation, and is suppressed by any oscillatory imbalance. You have the right to succeed. Spirit should overcome matter. We cannot accept misery. Remember that misery is characteristic of failed spirits. When the spirit overcomes matter, the result is light, splendor, complete success economically, socially, and spiritually. It is necessary that you learn the law of universal vibration. The study of the tatwas is very important. Tatwa, this is a Hindustani term, is vibration of the ether. Now, scientists say that the ether does not exist and that the only thing that really exists is the magnetic field. We could also say that matter does not exist and that energy is the only thing that is real. These are words, a matter of terms. The magnetic field is the ether. Everything comes from ether. Everything returns to ether. Sir Oliver Lodge, the great British scientist, says, it is the ether that gives place, through diverse modifications of its equilibrium, to all phenomenon of the universe, from the impalpable light to the formidable masses of the world. Anyone want me to reread that sentence or that quote? Okay.
Sure, you
The next
can.
section.
Yes, go ahead,
Okay.
reread it.
Well, it's just that it seemed like it. Anyway, his name was Sir Oliver Lodge, the great British scientist, and he said, "It is the ether that gives place, through diverse modifications of its equilibrium, to all phenomena of the universe, from the impalpable light to the formidable masses of the worlds." The next section is entitled Prana.
So can we talk about that? I mean, that whole
Sure.
section
Yeah. Yeah.
was actually pretty big.
Okay. Any comments, questions, concerns?
Mm,
I'm open.
excuse me, I got, I'm just eating my dinner. First of all, I had just said last night that I wanted to have a different way to talk about the spiritual world without it sounding so preachy. And here we come in tonight talking about the tattva.
Tatwas.
And huh?
Tatwas.
Oh, I got TATT. Oh, so it's the T
Tattva.
sounds like a W.
No,
Tattva?
it's
Tattva?
Tatwas.
Oh, okay, because I'm, mine is a V. Mine's not a W. But anyway,
Okay, yeah. And here
well,
it's W.
our books are a little bit different anyway. But what I'm saying is that by learning the use of tattva, one can favorably solve all matters in life. So understanding that a tattva is a vibration of ether. And when we're thinking of who we are as human beings, that we do radiate energy all the time anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But understanding that, that we're under, that, and everything else is too. Everything is kind of radiating some energy. So let's see, I think the first one was life was born from radiation, subsists because of radiation, and is suppressed by any oscillatory imbalance. So this is exactly what we were talking about last night, is how we add in, when we add in what we think and our behavior, it causes these things, and it can cause imbalance. But yeah, and I also see this in this last paragraph that you read, that the quote, I think is interesting too. It is the ether that gives place, through diverse modifications of its equilibrium, to all phenomena of the universe, from the impalpable light to the formidable masses of the worlds. So this is saying, really how powerful we are.
Amen.
We are, we have so much power within us, and that power is there on purpose. It's there on purpose because no one else has that same light, that impalpable light that I do. So that this in itself is really amazing. And I like that I can now think of a spiritual thing as a tatva, because you say, well, you say it's a W. That this is a vibration of ether, and that's a better way for me to explain it. It's a vibration of ether.
Okay. And that's what we are.
Mm-hmm.
We're vibrations of the ether. So anyone else? Okay.
Just real quick.
Sure, Andre.
Again, just real quick. That vibration of the tatwas, if I'm saying it correctly, and combining that, it seems so big. It's almost like reading. It's almost like the ingredients that completely creates consciousness in a sense. You need spirit, which would be a part of the ether. You need light and something to radiate, to animate, and then you would need a vibration for that being to be able to withstand complete of what's going on in the universe. I'm guessing it seems real big. I really like that side. It seemed real big. It seemed real cosmic to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Okay, we're going to move on to this next section is entitled Prana. Prana is the cosmic energy. Prana is vibration, electric motion, light, and heat. Universal magnetism, life. Prana is the life that palpates in each atom and in each sun. Prana is the life of ether, the great life, in other words. Prana is transformed into a very divine, intense blue substance. The name of this substance is Akash. The Akash is the marvelous substance that fills the entire infinite space, and that, when it is modified, becomes ether. It is interesting to know that ether modified becomes what we call the tattvas. The study of the vibrations of the ether, tattvas, is indispensable. Remember that business, love, health, etc., are controlled by cosmic vibrations. If you know the vibratory laws of life, if you know the tattvas, you will be able to obtain much money. Remember that money in itself is not good or bad. Everything depends on what you do with it. If you use it for good, it's good. And if you use it for evil, it's evil. Obtain much money and use it for the good of humanity. There are 7 main tattvas that you should learn how to use to succeed in life. No Gnostic student should live in misery. It is necessary that you know the names of the 7 tattvas. These names are Sanskrit terms. It is possible that it might be somewhat difficult for you to learn these names, but remember that it is well worth the study to succeed in life. Any comments there? Okay, the next
Well,
section is entitled.
the only comment that I have is that many years ago, at least 20, I was really into yoga, both the philosophy and the asanas. And I don't know, maybe time went on and got busy or life changed for me somehow. And all of this is coming back to me. So I'm glad that it's coming back to me now. This is a good time.
Yeah. The name of the tattvas. Akash is the principle of ether. Vayu is the etheric principle of air. Tajas is the etheric principle of fire. Prithvi is the etheric principle of the element earth. Apas is the etheric principle of water. There are 2 secret tattvas named Adi and Samadhi that vibrate during the aurora and are excellent for internal meditation. ecstasy, or samadhi is achieved with them. We will not expand on these tattvas now because they are useful to advanced students only. And I'm going to stop there for a minute in that little paragraph. One of the things that I did when I first read this was I took each one of these, and as you noticed, I do have trouble pronouncing them. So I took what they stood for: principle, air, fire, earth, water, and Adi and Samadhi to me were that divine place within us, and that eternal peace. And I meditated on those as opposed to the words of what they, the words and what they meant. Although sound does have a particular vibration when you say the words. But for me, because they didn't give any more information as to these, I felt just meditating on what each one meant was, for me, was more important. So you can take that as it is for your own benefit, or find out more about them by looking it up and that type of thing. Anyone else have any comment on that little paragraph? Okay, Tattva timetable. The vibration of the tattvas begins at sunrise. Each tattva vibrates for 24 minutes in a period of 2 hours. The first tattva that vibrates is Akash, followed in succession by Vayu, Tejas, Prithvi, Apis. 2 hours later, Akash vibrates again, and the succession of the tattvas is repeated in the same order previously described. The tattvas vibrate day and night. It is necessary to know the hour of sunrise. Buccelli's astrological yearbook is one of the calendars that mark the time of sunrise in each country of Latin America. Some daily newspapers, especially in the United States of America, and magazines indicate the time of the sunrise. Galvin's calendar is also good for this purpose. Those who would like Buccelli's American Yearbook can request it from the following address: Mrs. Eli de Buccelli, Casilla, 1880, Santiago, Chile. It can also be requested from the Kier Editorial Essay Avenue, or I think that's capital S period, A period, Avenue, Santa Fe, number 1260, Buenos Aires, Argentina. Property of the tattvas. Akash is exclusively good for meditation. We advise you to pray a lot during this time. Do not have business or love appointments during this time because you will inevitably fail. This tattva causes us to make very serious mistakes. If you work during this period, you should then be very careful. Artists should abstain from working in Akash. Everything that begins with Akash will fail. Akash is the tattva of death. Vayu, everything that is velocity and motion, corresponds to Vayu, the principle of air. Winds, air, aerial navigation, etc. are related to Vayu. During this period, people enjoy talking ill about their fellow men, lying, stealing, etc. Usually airplane accidents happen during this period, and suicides are stimulated by this tattva. We advise you not to marry during this period because your marriage will be of a short duration. All kinds of simple and quick transactions turn out very well in Vayu, but complicated and long-lasting business deals result in failure. It is good to carry out intellectual works during this period. The great yogis mentally manipulate this tattva and use it intelligently when they want to float in the air. Tejas. It is hot because it is the etheric principle of fire. During the period in which this tattva is active, we feel more heat. You can bathe in cold water in Tejas and you will never catch a cold. Never argue with anyone in Tejas because the consequences can be serious. You should utilize the time of Tejas to work intensely. Don't marry in Tejas because you will have constant quarrels with your partner. The most terrible explosions and accidents happen in the period of the Tattva Tejas. Prithvi, or Prithvi. This is the Tattva of success in life. If you want to succeed in business, do it in Prithvi. If you want to have good health, eat and drink in Prithvi. Marriages that are carried out in Prithvi are happy for life. Every party, every lecture, every business, every appointment done in Prithvi will be a total success. Prithvi is love, charity, benevolence. Apas. It is the principle of water and is the opposite of Tejas, fire. This tattva is marvelous for the purchase of merchandise. It is also marvelous for business, and you will be able to earn money, much money, if you know how to take advantage of this tattva. Buy lottery in Apas. Journeys by water are good in Apas. Rainfalls that begin in Apas tend to be very lengthy and heavy. The tattva Apas works on concentrating and attracting. Remember that you need to know the exact time of sunrise to be guided by the tattvas. Always have a good wristwatch or product watch and take advantage of the tattvas in practical life. The practice for this lesson. Sit at a table facing the east. Rest your elbows on the table and proceed in the following manner. Place the thumbs of your right and left hands into your ears. Cover your eyes with the index fingers. Cover your nostrils with your middle fingers and seal your lips with your ring fingers or little fingers. Inhale slowly, counting to 20. Hold your breath and count from 1 to 20. Exhale slowly, counting 1 to 20. It is necessary to remove your middle fingers to inhale and exhale, but during the retention of your breath, the middle finger should hermetically seal your nostrils. It is necessary for you to try to see the tattvas with the third eye during the retention of your breath. The third eye resides between the two eyebrows. At the beginning, you will see nothing, but after some time, you will be able to see and recognize them by their colors. Akash is black, and its planet is Saturn. Vayu is greenish blue, and Mercury is the planet. Tejas is red like fire, and its planet is Mars. Prithvi is golden yellow, and the sun is its planet, although it is also influenced by Jupiter. Apas is white, and Venus and the moon are its planets. A comment about this holding it. In Sufism, it's called Chagall. And when you do it, you place your thumbs in your ears, your index fingers over your eyes, your middle finger over the nostrils, and your ring and little finger on your lips. And you, in Sufism, after practice, you learn to hold your breath for the 20 seconds or the count of 20, as opposed to having to inhale and exhale. But when I first read this and saw that it was a reminder of the Chagall breathing practice. And you will in time see a great deal in using that particular practice. Any comments, questions?
I I have a question.
Okay, Harriet.
I'm a little confused as far as the timing is concerned with the, when to do things and all, because what he says, he mentions 24 minutes in a 2-hour period. And does that come, that doesn't, I just don't understand that. Can you explain it?
Yeah. He says here each tatwa vibrates for 24 minutes in a period of 2 hours. And it starts with the Akash. So the Akash vibrates for 24 minutes. And then after the Akash, the next 24 minutes is taken up with Vayu. And then the next 24 minutes, it would be Teja. The next 24 minutes would be Prithvi. The next 24 minutes would be Apas. Okay, and that should be the 2 hours. I'm going to be very honest with you. I don't necessarily do this in that particular manner. But if you take the 2 hours, that's 120 minutes. Okay, and you've got here, you've got, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 divided into 120. That would be the 2 hours. And they repeat themselves every 2 hours. Okay, so in doing it that way, it's a little easier than trying to go with the 24 minutes. The other thing is to realize that every 2 hours they start over again. And I don't always know when sunrise is, okay, because I don't have a particular calendar that talks about when the sun rises and that type of thing. So to me, that's more of an individual thing. If you're interested in doing that, that's sort of how it works. Realizing that it takes 2 hours for all 5 of them to be used at one time. And then the next 2 hours, they start over again. Does that help you in understanding that a little bit?
Very much. Thank you.
Okay. I found personally, I don't rule my life that way. Because when he said here about marriage and about business and that type of thing, I just don't rule my life that way. Anybody else rule their life by what, some people rule their lives by numerology, like they won't get married on a certain day because it just doesn't add up to a good number for them. I had a friend who's she went by her name and her birthday, and it was 9. And if the date when she got married, it didn't add up to a 9, she wasn't going to get married on that day because her lucky number was 9. And the date of her wedding had to add up to a 9. And she did things that way. I don't. So some people, they do use numerology. Others might use, this particular thing. In Sufism, we were always told you do not start the day unless you've meditated first. And you always meditate first thing in the morning. As soon as you open your eyes, you went into meditation. And then your day was going to run much more smoother. And when you went to bed at night, in order to go to sleep, you went into meditation to go to sleep. And that really works, for some people. For me, it worked very beautifully. So, I'm just reading this as information for you. And if you want to go into it more, that's entirely up to you. I do recommend the practice of this breathing practice, which it's called Chagall in Sufism. he doesn't give it a name here. And he focuses more on when you do that type of meditation, you do eventually see those colors. And you do, after you've done it for, for a time. But you also, after you've done it for a time, you don't have to, you can take a good breath, exhaling, inhaling, and exhaling, and then placing your fingers and hold it for up to 20 seconds or more, in fact, depending on how long you've been practicing it. Anyone else?
Well, when we're speaking of this and these 7 tatawas, are we speaking of these, like you were saying, as far as your friend with the numbers and how people choose to, dictate certain points of view of how they go about their day or their life? Are we using these at a point of view as far as creation? As far as what we create mentally in our minds and our ideas. Are we speaking separately, or are we speaking separately, or we're speaking celestial?
Okay, the way he speaks about it here is that certain one, for example, well, he says here for Akash is exclusively good for meditation, and to pray at that time. Well, since that's the first one, it makes sense to me that if you're going to, let's say you've got an idea to do something, it's better to start it by thinking and meditating upon the steps that you're going to need to do whatever it is you're going to do, instead of just jumping into it. Let's say, all right, let's say you're going to clean a room, that, maybe you're getting company and you've been cleaning and doing it so, but now you're going to get company and you want to look a little more extra special. Well, you're going to go about doing that so that it doesn't seem so burdensome. You're going to start by maybe dusting first instead of vacuuming, picking up certain things before you try to dust. You're going to have a plan of how you're going to do it in order to create a nice effect. Same thing if you have.
So we're looking at those, yeah. I feel you. So we're looking at it from those 24 minutes of when an idea blossoms, to let it sink in and take your time with the idea versus okay.
And think about what you're going to do first before jumping in. Just like getting into a car, you don't just put the key in and go. You let the engine warm up a little bit. It may be a minute or two, okay, but you don't put the key in, press the gas, and back up and go. You give a chance for it to kind of warm up a little bit, because otherwise it's too hard on the engine. So you give it a few minutes and that type of thing. So it's the same thing with any project that we're doing or anything we want to create, even ourselves. Most of us don't just jump out of bed, splash our face with water, brush our teeth, and out the door we go. We take a minute, we get up, maybe we meditate a little bit, or jump in, maybe take a shower, wash our face, think about what we're going to wear, and think about what we have to do that day. Well, I'm just going to be lounging around the house, so I'm just going to wear play clothes, work clothes. On the other hand, if I have to go someplace, I'm going to get dressed to go out in public. So we all take those few minutes rather than jumping into something. Does that make sense? Okay, do you want to move on? Okay, chapter 4, or lesson 4. In order to succeed in life, one has to become a fisher of men. Jesus chose his disciples from among poor fishermen. They had to stop catching fish to become fishers of men. Do you want to obtain success, power, glory? Listen to this advice. Put the bait on the hook that will catch the fish. Do not talk with others about things of interest to you. Your business is your business. The human being is egotistical, unfortunately, and wants to only know things that are of interest to him. If you talk to your fellow man about the things that he desires and loves, you will influence him positively and will obtain from him all that you need. It is necessary to learn to see the point of view of our fellow man and help to solve his conflicts. In this manner, we also solve our own problems. Become an altruistic and generous person. Help others with your advice. Do your best to understand others' points of view, and you will catch fish in abundance. When we begin comprehending our fellow men, we also begin to take the first steps on the path of happiness and success. It is necessary to study and understand the functions of the mind. Whoever knows the mental mechanism is in a position to control it. Much has been said about mental power, and there are many schools that teach how to concentrate the mind. Nobody can intelligently deny the power of thought. This force is made up of radioactive forms and waves that move from one brain to another. We need to develop this marvelous power, but we must advise that thought and action should wisely be combined if we want to succeed in life. Mental concentration is miraculous when intelligently combined with action. Mental power achieves proteges and marvels when it is based on sincerity and the truth. Do not attempt to deceive your fellow men. Do not use mental concentration to deceive your fellow men, because failure for you will be inevitable. Mental power achieves proteges when used to help others. By helping others, we ourselves benefit. That is the law. Do you need to succeed in something important? Sit in a comfortable chair. Relax your muscles. Concentrate on the business you are interested in and imagine the business in full prosperity. Identify yourself with your fellow man. Try to understand your fellow man's point of view. Advise him mentally. Make him see the advantages that the business he is about to carry out with you will bring him. So the mental waves will penetrate deeply in the other person's mind and will do marvels. 1 hour of perfect concentration is enough to determine success in a business. Every merchant has the right to obtain money, but whatever you sell should be good, useful, and necessary to others. Do not try to deceive others because you deceive yourself. Multitudes of peddlers travel the streets offering their merchandise uselessly. No one is interested in their merchandise, and people become annoyed when they meet these peddlers. The error of these peddlers is that they only think and talk about their wares. If they learned how to see another's point of view, they would inevitably succeed. It is necessary to comprehend that all human beings have an I that wants to stand out, make itself felt, climb to the top of the ladder, etc. This is precisely the human being's weakness. You also have that weak side. Do not fall into the same errors of others. Never say I, always say we. Whoever masters himself can also master others. Intelligently insinuate what you want, but do not say I want. Remember that others are not interested in what you want. Let others prepare your idea as if it was theirs. Provide the elements for that preparation. Provide them very intelligently. Let others elaborate your ideas. You can be sure that others feel good elaborating your ideas. People like to feel important. That is the weakness of the I. Exploit that weakness. Never feel important, and you will be important. Try to dissolve the I, and you will be truly happy. All success in life depends on the ability you have to deal with other people. It is necessary to abandon egotism and to develop Christ-centrism. It is urgent to work for the common good. It is indispensable to dissolve the I, to always think as we. The term we has more power than the egotistical I. All the great failures of life are due to the I. When the latter wants to make itself felt, stand out, climb to the top of the ladder, then the reactions of others follow, and the result of such mental reactions is failure. Remember that the I is energetic, it is desire, it is memory, it is fear, violence, hatred, wants, fantasisms, jealousies, distrust, etc. You need to explore profoundly all the depths of your mind because you have within you that which is called I, myself, the ego, etc. If you want to succeed in life, you should dissolve the I. If you want to dissolve the I, you should disintegrate all your defects. If you want to disintegrate your defects, do not condemn or justify them, comprehend them. When we condemn a defect, we hide it in the profound recesses of the mind. And when we justify a defect, we strengthen it horribly. But when we comprehend a defect, then we disintegrate it completely. When the I is dissolved, we are filled with plenitude and happiness. When the I is dissolved, the being, the spirit, love expresses itself through us. Remember that God, the spirit, the eternal being of each man, of each woman, and of each creature is never the I. The being is divine, eternal, and perfect. The I is Satan of the biblical legend. The I is not the body. It is energetic and diabolical and diabolic. In the I is the root of misery, poverty, failures, disillusions, unsatisfied desires, violent desires, hatred, envy, jealousy, etc. Change your life now. It is urgent that you understand the need to do away with all your defects, to dissolve the I, Satan, the cause of all failures. When the I is dissolved, only the being, God, happiness, remains in us. God is peace, abundance, happiness, and perfection. Any comments on that? One thing I think we do, especially if you're a parent and you want your child to do something, and if you make it seem like it's their idea, they'll do it much better than if you tell them. A perfect example is like cleaning their room. Instead of telling them to clean their room, it's better to use a different example, such as, how can we create a better place in your room? How can we create a special place or a secret place in your room where you can keep this, that, or the other thing? And 9 out of 10 times, they are more apt to start picking up their toys and putting them in a special place rather than, you nagging them. At least that's what I found to be beneficial. Also giving a choice. Do you want to wear this or do you want to wear that? Instead of telling them, well, you're going to wear this today. So there's different things that we as parents have done that we may not realize that we are already doing some of this. Anyone else have any comments? Okay, the
Uh,
practice for,
Well,
oh,
I
go
was gonna
on.
say the some of the things that I see is that, this is telling us to not to focus so much, not to be so egocentric,
Mhm.
to pay attention to where we are in our own particular life and that it affects others, and for us to be vigilant on what is affecting us from others, you know. And those and when we're paying attention to that, we can disintegrate that whole concept of I and include all of everybody else, the we, you
Mhm.
know. So now we're paying attention to how I don't, allow somebody else's idea or frustration or disappointment or anger to affect me so that I don't infect someone else, because of what. So it's that's one of the things that I saw that this is saying here is that when we use that I, just be really centered on on where we're coming from, that we're not coming from a place of self-centered, but a place
Not,
of unity.
yeah, not coming from a place of ego, what
Mhm.
I want type of thing. Okay, anyone else? Well, the practice for this lesson is, he states, a man, after having studied himself, discovered that he had 12 defects that were bothering him. This man said, just as it is impossible to catch 10 hares at the same time, because the hunter who wants to try this would not catch any, so is it also impossible to do away with my 12 defects at the same time. This man arrived at the conclusion that it would be better to catch one hare and then another, first to do away with one defect and then another. Therefore, he decided to dedicate 2 months to each defect. After 24 months, this man no longer had the defects. He had done away with the 12 defects that hindered him from success. The result was marvelous. This man became the foremost citizen of the United States. His name, Benjamin Franklin. Imitate this person. Examine yourself and see how many defects you have. Count them, number them, then dedicate 2 months to each defect successfully until you eliminate all of them. Sit in a comfortable chair and pray to your internal God like this: you who are my true being, you who are my internal God, enlighten me, help me, make me see my own defects. Amen. Concentrate on this prayer until deep sleep arrives. Try to discover all your defects. We advise you to read the Bible. The word of the Divine Master is found in the 4 Gospels. There you will see the virtues that you need. There you will discover the virtues that you lack. Wherever a virtue is lacking, a defect exists. Any comments about that practice?
Well, all I can say is this is exactly what we read last night. I mean, one of the things, one of the first parts in the paragraph were, do you choose to act simultaneously or successively? So, and this is exactly what this is saying. Here we are, instead of, he chose to act successively by, getting rid of each of the defects one at a time. you know. So I think that this is, I'm just amazed. I'm always amazed at how in sync our classes are. They, they intertwine from one day to the next.
Right, that's the synchronicity of this path, I think.
Mm-hmm.
When we're on it, we begin to see how it all flows together, and it makes no difference where you're at all. The only thing that's important is that you take that first initial step and start. And that starting is with yourself. And by starting on yourself, as I said, you let go of criticizing others, you become more tolerant and understanding of where people are at, because you're not so much interested in, and how do I want this? You're not so much interested in where they're at as much as you are in where you're at and how you're changing. And you begin to see that as you change and as you grow, you begin to see the world in a much different light. And you begin to see individuals that, I may not necessarily agree with this, that, or the other that the person is doing, but it is not my place to try to change them. They in turn may see some changes happening in me and ask me. They may in turn see some changes in me, and that starts like a domino effect. A change in them happens. It's when we get in the way of trying to be right and trying to convince the other person to change, and yet we remain the same. That's when we run into trouble. So it's important that we change. And I found this prayer that he says in here to be very, very, very beneficial, and to commit to memory. So if you're able to do that, that would be good. Anyone else? So far, just to kind of recap a little bit, in lesson 3, we had understanding the tattvas, and the practice there was the Chagall breathing. That is a very good breathing practice. It's a very beneficial one in the morning, especially after sleeping all night. I don't know if any of the rest of you, maybe it has to do with age, but my nose always feels very, very clogged. And I find this practice to be very good in helping to get the all the body parts moving first thing in the morning when you get to be a certain age. Andre, you may not have this because you're still young. But I think once you reach 70 some years old, you tend to, you tend to be active all day long. And then when you go to bed, and then when you get up in the morning, it's like nothing is working. I can barely sit up, I can barely walk, type of thing. So this practice kind of helps to send energy to all the different parts of the body that need it. In lesson 4, the practice there is getting rid of the eyes, getting rid of the egotistic self, and that prayer. You are my true being, you who are my internal God, enlighten me, help me, make me see my own defects. Amen. And when we see our own defects, and we see our own shortcomings, we're better able to grow and to be the spiritual being that we were created and meant to be, and helping humanity, whether we realize it by doing something or just being ourselves, and not complaining, and not just going about our daily tasks, but in such a way that we are going about it from a much higher vantage point, from our God-centered self. You ready to move on to another lesson? Okay, lesson 5 begins with the term money. Why has money assumed such an immense importance in our lives? Do we perhaps depend exclusively on it for our own psychological happiness? All of us human beings need food, clothing, and shelter. This is known. But why is it that this, which is so natural and simple for even the birds of the sky, has assumed such a tremendous and frightening importance and meaning? Money has assumed such an exaggerated and disproportionate value because we psychologically depend on it for our well-being. Money nourishes our personal vanity, gives us social prestige, gives us the means to achieve power. The mind has used money for ends and purposes that are totally different from those that it has in itself, among which are to cover our immediate physical needs. Money is being used for psychological purposes. That is the reason why money has assumed an exaggerated and disproportionate importance. We need money to have food, clothing, and shelter. That is obvious. But when money becomes a psychological need, when we utilize it for different purposes than it has in itself, when we depend on it to obtain fame, prestige, social position, etc., then money assumes an exaggerated and disproportionate importance before the mind. And this is where the struggle and the conflict to possess it originates. It is logical that we have a need to obtain money to satisfy our physical needs, to have food, clothing, and shelter. But if we depend on money exclusively for our own happiness and personal satisfaction, then we are the most wretched beings upon the earth. When we understand deeply that money only has the purpose of providing us with food, clothing, and shelter, we then spontaneously place an intelligent limitation on it. The result of this is that money no longer assumes the exaggerated importance that it has when it becomes a psychological need. Money in itself is not good or bad. Everything depends on the use we make of it. If we use it for good, it is good. If we use it for evil, it is evil. We need to comprehend in depth the true nature of sensation and satisfaction. The mind that wants to arrive at comprehending the truth should be free of these obstacles. If we truly want to free the thought from the sensation of satisfaction, we must begin with those sensations that are more familiar to us and establish there the adequate foundation for comprehension. Sensations have their suitable place, and when we comprehend them profoundly in all the levels of the mind, they do not assume that stupid distortion they now have. Many people believe that if the order of things was according to the political party we belong to, and for which we always struggle, that we would then have a happy world full of abundance, peace, and perfection. That is a false concept, because none of that can truly happen if we have not previously comprehended individually the true significance of things. The human being is very poor internally, and that is why he has a need for money and things for his own stimulation and personal satisfaction. When one is poor internally, externally he seeks money and things to complete himself and to find satisfaction. That is why money and things have assumed a disproportionate value, and the human being is prepared to steal, to exploit, and to lie at every instant. The struggle between capitalism and work, employers and employees, between exploiters and the exploited, etc., is due to that. All political changes are useless if we have not first comprehended our own internal poverty. Economic systems can change again and again. The social system can be altered again and again. But if we have not profoundly comprehended the intimate nature of our inner poverty, the individual will always create new ways and means to obtain personal satisfaction at the expense of the peace of other people. It is urgent to deeply comprehend the inner nature of this, myself, if we really want to be internally wealthy. Whoever is internally rich is incapable of exploiting his fellow man. He is incapable of stealing and lying. Whoever is internally wealthy is free of the obstacles of personal satisfaction and sensation. Whoever is internally wealthy has found happiness. We need money, true, but it is necessary to profoundly comprehend our exact relationship with it. Neither the ascetic nor the covetous miser has ever comprehended what our exact relationship with money is. It is not through renouncing money nor coveting it that we can come to understand our exact relationship with it. We need comprehension to intelligently recognize our own material needs without disproportionately depending on money. When we comprehend our exact relationship with money, the pain of detachment and the frightening suffering that is produced by competition ends. We should learn to differentiate between our immediate physical needs and psychological dependence on things. Psychological dependence on material things creates exploitation and slavery. We need money to cover our immediate physical needs, but unfortunately, needs are transformed into covetousness. The psychological eye, perceiving its own emptiness and misery, usually gives money and material things a different value than what they have, an exaggerated and absurd value. That is why the eye wants to become rich externally, since internally it is poor and miserable. The eye wants to make itself felt, to dazzle its fellow men with material things and money. We always allege necessity to justify covetousness. Covetousness is the secret cause of hatred and the brutalities of this world, and many times they assume legal aspects. Covetousness is the cause of war and of all the miseries of this world. If we want to do away with the greed of the world, we should profoundly comprehend that this world is within our own selves. We are the world. The greed of all other individuals is within ourselves. Really, all individuals live within our own consciousness. The world's covetousness is within the individual, and only by doing away with the covetousness that we carry within will the covetousness in the world end. Only by comprehending the complex process of covetousness in all the levels of the mind can we arrive at experiencing the great reality. Any comments, questions, thoughts in this section before we do the practice?
Yeah. This is really, really answers a lot of things that have been on my mind recently, is that, I do believe that because we are all one, we are all experiencing whatever is a part of the whole. And when he's saying here is that money basically comes from, the I, the ego that needs to prove its life, its existence so much. So it really does come from a certain layer and spreads all the way through. And I'm speaking of, like that top 1%. If they would just be satisfied with whatever it is that they already have, they wouldn't be still trying to squeeze more out of people who have less so that they can get more. And that's the thing that always continues this whole mindset of lack. I can't help but lack because, or feel lack, or want to get out of lack because I'm being drained by some, parasite from the top who already has way too much. He's not willing to let go of what he has. So now that I'm seeing this, yeah, we are responsible for our own selves, of course, but there has to be that one vibration that leads back up to that place of healing, so that people who have too much already can be satisfied. And I think that's what it is that for us to simply learn how to be satisfied.
True. Yeah, true. I see that upper 1% or whatever they quote as being that upper echelon. They are lacking. They are very poor. They're not happy with who they are. Right. And by not being happy with who they are, therefore they feel they need more and more because they're trying to be happy. Mm-hmm. And they don't realize that, and it's in the Beatitudes, it states it. The poor of heart, I don't know how I put it. I don't remember the Beatitudes real good. Talks about the poor are rich.
Poor in spirit.
The poor in spirit. Mm-hmm.
And that's what they are. They're poor in spirit in the sense that they don't realize the beauty within themselves.
Right.
Personally, and I think each one of you may have had this opportunity too, because most of us, and I am assuming, because I've never really asked any of you in that, but we are very rich in spirit. We are very rich in being happy with who we are. Sure, we want to make some changes in ourselves to be better. So therefore, we maybe meditate a little bit more. We, do different breathing practices. We tend to live our life to the best of our ability with what we know at this time in our growth. Mm-hmm. We may not have 2 nickels to rub together, but we are happy. By the same token, we know that, maybe today, I got paid yesterday, I had to pay the bills, and now I don't have anything except $5 in the checking account. That $5 is going to have to last me until my next check comes in. But we know that if an emergency comes up, somehow or other, without even asking, that $5 ends up being exactly what we need, or that $10, or that, there's that saying, asking you shall receive, and all we have to do is put that asking out into the universe, and it comes. Maybe somebody, I had a client that only paid she made homemade bread and it was delicious. And that's how she paid me. And I never asked her for money, but it seemed like there was a time when I needed more than just bread. And she happened to tell me that she had some extra groceries that were going to expire soon within the next couple of weeks if I would like them. And it was like, oh my goodness. It was like somebody had just given me $1 million. It was just a bag of groceries, but it served the purpose at the time. Where these people that we hear about and we read about, I don't let it bother me because I feel they are very poor in knowing who they are. Where each of us is very rich in the sense that we do know who we are. And at the same time, we're trying to be better, but we're not trying to be better by stepping on somebody else. Or by lying or cheating or stealing to be better. We're taking what we're learning and trying to the best of our ability to apply it and to see what happens. And we're seeing that it works. And granted, they may have more in the bank account and that, but are they really truly happy? In my book, I don't think they are. I think they're very poor. And when he says here, that people who are, people who use money disproportionately, they're not happy with their own inner self. As you say here, if you want to be internally wealthy, okay, let me see here. Whoever is internally wealthy is free of the obstacles of personal satisfaction and sensation. In other words, I don't need, and I don't think any of you need somebody to pat you on the back all the time and say, oh, good job, good job, good job. Because you're able to do that yourself. You don't need psychologically somebody else doing it and telling you that. These people that are in that upper echelon, that upper class, that are so wealthy and don't have the heart to share, they're internally very, very weak and lacking, I feel.
Well, I mean, if I may step in just real quick
Go
on
ahead.
both of it. It's a trip when you look at it on both ways, because speaking of money can be a very, tricky subject. But I mean, for the lack of the better word that the author used, which is money, which is something that is material of an exchange. Who doesn't want to be rich? Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
I don't want to be rich.
And I mean, well, and rich can be, and the thing about rich is, rich can be your wildest imaginations to your humble, to you just being as humble as you are on an everyday basis. Rich is what you choose to be and how you choose to carry it. If you can go to work for 30 years and your mortgage is 30 years mortgage, and you can pay it, and you and your wife, and you end up with children, and you pay it off by 60, and you retire by 60, and you've done it, and you just got your feet kicked up, and you don't got to worry about your mortgage. You just, you may go you may pick up something here or there, just to get out of the house to make sure. But if you've played your cards right in so many ways, you can be in a position like that. Well, most people are not looking at money like that, because most people have been told their whole life that you need to have some money. Whether you are a rich kid or a poor kid or royalty or something, what's gonna back you? Money, your name, your status. So it's coming in learning that. So it's a deprogramming of what seems to be going on, is that we all have to look upon that and deprogram from that point of view. And this is a history that has gone on from, since people said, hey, I'll give you that log for that shiny shell, I mean, money ain't just been, and most people are not fighting over the dollars that we as Americans are fighting over. It's the land, it's the minerals, it's the oil, it's what really makes the world go round. And if you can control this, you can control the world. And if you can control the world, then that means you can control the people. And like we were speaking of yesterday and speaking of today, if you're not looking at it from that point of view, that means you are harboring fear against the whole world, and you have the power. That means you're not getting a good night's sleep. You're not, you're not gonna get a good night's sleep.
Yeah. he says here that money in and of itself is not neither good nor evil. It's how you use it. And that has to do with everything. It's not, something is neither good nor evil. It's how you use it. And that's to do with words, has to do with money. It has to do even with food, you know, even with clothing. It's how you use whatever it is that you have and how you see what you have. I would rather be, and I think each one of you are at the same place, maybe not saying it, but to be internally wealthy as opposed to being externally wealthy.
I'd like to be a little bit about both, to tell you the truth, to be honest.
Well,
Would you
to
would you be
me,
able, well, can I ask a question? Would you
Yeah.
be able to sleep better at night knowing that you can still live the way that you live and that homelessness is no longer in America, but your taxes go up?
my taxes.
There you go.
Taxes,
There you
taxes
go.
I do sleep at night because I don't worry about any of that. And I'll explain to you why. The reason I said that I didn't want to be rich is because with being externally rich comes the responsibility of how I would use that money. And this may sound not so good to some of you, but there are people that are homeless by choice. There are people that are homeless because they're homeless because of a lack of a home, a lack of a job, and that type of thing. There comes a point that we're in particular situations or experiencing particular situations because there is a lesson to be learned. Back in the beginning of time, there were people who were homeless because they didn't want to learn how to put twigs together and branches together to make a hut.
Okay, I just want to mention it is 8:30.
Oh, okay.
It's 8:30 now. So can we just do the if you can wrap that up in one sentence, what you're about to say, you can close that out, and then we can you know, do the
Yeah. Okay.
the
Well, I'll
round
do
table.
this. Okay, what I was going to say is it's by choice. And my choice is that each of us has to come to that learning. And the situation that we find ourselves in is the sort of the thorn that is saying it's time for you to learn this, that, or the other. Okay. This lesson 5 closed with this practice, which I'll read real quick. The practice is number 1. Lie down in the form of a star, opening your legs and arms to the left and the right. 2. Concentrate now on your immediate physical needs. 3. Meditate. Reflect on each one of those needs. 4. Lull yourself to sleep, trying to discover on your own where necessity ends and where covetousness begins. 5. If your practice of concentration and inner meditation is correct, in an internal vision, you will discover what your legitimate necessities are and which of these are covetous. Remember that only by profoundly comprehending necessity and covetousness will you be able to establish true foundations for the correct process of thinking. So with that practice, in order to remember it, is lying down in the shape of a star, concentrating on what your needs are, whatever you need immediately, those immediate needs, meditating on each one of those needs, and then trying to discover where necessity ends and covetousness begins. And that goes to what Harry, or not Harry, but what Penelope was saying about when is enough enough.
So since we have so
But
many to choose from, why don't we kind of focus on, because we did what, 4 lessons? Actually, because we
Three,
started off with
three.
3, 4, 3,
We
4,
did 3, 4, and 5. We only did 3 lessons.
4, and 5. Okay, so yeah. So why don't we focus on, but there's a lot, there's several exercises within each of those, within
Well,
those lessons. So why don't
the
we
first
kind of,
one, I was
yeah,
gonna
but
say, the
instead, I
first
mean,
one,
why don't we just kind of focus on one that resonates with us in particular?
because they tie
instead of
together.
doing all of them.
I see them tying together. One was the Chagall practice. That was the breathing.
Yeah,
Okay. The fourth one was the prayer. That was the prayer of, you are my true being, you are my eternal God, enlighten me. To be enlightened would help with the comprehension, and that's what the 5th one was, comprehending our needs, and where necessity and covetousness, what's the difference between the two? That's how I see it. But we could, if somebody wanted to do it separately, that's fine too.
yeah, because I know I'm not going, I mean, I know it's too much for me. I know it was too much homework for me. And I'll probably only do one, to be honest with you. Everybody else can follow the formula. But me, I probably only do. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's real quick, let's do a quick round table. Harriet, would you I see that you've taken your mic off. Would you like to, give us your round table opinion?
And listening to all of this, I'm gonna have to go back over it and look at them, and because there is a lot there to take in and to try and put into practice. So as far as my roundtable is concerned, I'm going to review all of this and see how I can incorporate it into my daily routine.
Yeah, and I hope you feel, well, I already know you'll be feeling better. I know you'll be feeling better soon. So let's put it like that. I know you'll be feeling better soon. How about you, Andre?
I definitely saw it and have been writing and looking at it from so many different ways and avenues. It's something that it's a practice, and definitely with breathing, starting with a good breathing technique,
Mhm.
and actually starting with just that breathing technique, and that first part of it, of the Akas, where you're breathing and you're seeing just nothing, and you're just beginning to come in, so you can start to harness your energy and create your day and how you want your day to go, is something that I have been working on, but now that I have a name for it and I can practice it, it feels a little bit, it's something that's a little bit more comfortable, and it's something that's a little bit more relatable. So I'm, once again, glad that I get to share, meditation and breathing techniques again. So that's
Mhm.
my round table.
Yeah, and I'm glad that, Sakina, you knew about this, so I wouldn't have to read it and say, okay, thumbs in my ears, now this and now this and this and this, so it's, it helps to be able to see it. Yeah.
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 And
So thank you.
and you build up to the 20, he said the counting to 20. You can build up to it and go beyond that.
Right, right. Well, the thing that I got from it tonight is, always I say, is because, each day I see how we are, so in sync with this message, and it's showing me where I am each and every day. you know, so it keeps me, helps keep me focused. And this is one of the things that I am continuing in, is being focused and having this concentration to who I am right now, you know, really understanding who I am, so that because I mean, you know, all aspects of myself, you know, so because I know that truth that is in me. But anyway, it's 8:38 and I was beginning to talk some gibberish. So it was time for me to finish that up. But tomorrow, we don't have anything except for Harriet. Let me know if if you feel like us meeting around about 11. Let me know how you feel, and we can. Saturday, I'll be doing.
I'll be ready.
Okay. Saturday, I'll be doing the tarot. We'll be working on the Emperor, Major Arcane number 4. Sunday, I don't know, Sakina, you haven't done a what you call it in a while, and but I had planned on doing a you know, the Kabbalah. I mean, that was like that's kind of like the original plan, but I wanted to ask you, when is the next time you might want to do the what's the dimensions? That's what I was
Oh, the
thinking.
dimension?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see here. Well, let's see here. How's next Sunday then? Because you said this Sunday you're doing the Kabbalah.
Right. Okay.
I can do next Sunday.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
That sounds good. All righty then. So that's pretty much it for this week. Thank you everybody for coming. Would anybody like to close us out in prayer? Well, I can. All the Wazians coming in, so.
Or maybe he'll join us.
Let's just for a second, let's just breathe in deeply. And exhale. Let's just enjoy the gratitude that we have when just by coming together, gleaning information, understanding how we can apply these things to our lives so that we will be that perfected image of creation that is within. As we know that each and every individual is filled and complete. And as we live understanding that, and as that, let's just begin to include each and every thought, action, and just allow these things to be fulfilled in goodness, in glory, in light, and in love. And with that we say, and so it is.
And so it is.
All righty, everybody. That was great. I love you all.
We love
And
you.
I will see you Saturday.
All right.
Bye.
I'm blessed. Each one of you.
I don't know why my camera is doing that.